Dude, look at this fucking guy. He has the helmet on his head and it's not even covering the part that's affected by androgenic alopecia. What's up guys, Derek, moreplaysmoredates.com. Today we're gonna be talking about BluMaan. So this is probably the most popular hair YouTuber, I would say, as far as I've seen, for males anyways. For men. I don't know why I said males. So he has a huge channel, 1.63 million subscribers, all about hair. And expectedly, he has some content about hair loss and hair loss prevention. So I thought we would react to his 5 proven, in capital letters, proven ways to stop hair loss and give you my thoughts on what they are. So let's get into this.
Now, no one wants to experience hair loss, but sooner than later, almost every single guy will. It's hard to break it to you. Luckily for you, we live in a day and age when nearly anything is possible. So if you want to minimize that hair loss process, let's go ahead and start out with step number 1.
This guy's hairline is like so good that it like defies itself. Like look how dense this guy's Norwood Zero is, to the point where the middle of the hair is higher up than the fucking temples. Like this is like absurd. This guy's got nutty hair genetics. Let's keep going.
Number 1 is taking care of what you have right now. Don't undervalue or underappreciate the hair that you have on your head right now, even if you might not be losing any hair at this current point in time. Being conscious of the styling products you use, how often you're washing your hair, and making sure that you're using hair health products as well as a part of your styling routine are all super valuable daily choices you can be making. For example, wash your hair as little as possible and use dry shampoo on days in between so you don't feel that greasy buildup. Washing your hair as little as possible allows for your hair to build up natural oils that helps to keep your scalp and hair moisturized and healthy. Every time you use shampoo, you're stripping out all of these natural oils that are trying to help your hair. And if you do this on a daily basis, that's taking the highway to brittle, dry hair.
Okay, so I'm on board with the whole proactively managing, getting in front of it rather than waiting till it gets bad. But he's talking about like hair styling products, not hair loss prevention products whatsoever. He's not talking about anything that prevents androgenic alopecia, to be honest. So I'm gonna let him keep talking, but so far I've heard really nothing all that helpful when it comes to combating androgens on the scalp.
Dry hair equals damaged hair equals hair that will fall out. And as for healthy products, incorporating a natural hair oil into your routine is such an easy way to add health and moisture on a daily basis. The healthier your hair is, the stronger your follicles are, and the less breakage will occur.
Okay, so breakage, maybe, but it's like, dude, what about the actual thing that's gonna cause hair loss? Like, is that not a concern whatsoever? Because it's like, I would rather prevent miniaturization of hair follicles than fucking have oil to put in it when there's no fucking hair there. There's gonna be no hair there at some point. I need something to prevent the hair loss, dude.
All right, it's all maths. It's all 1 + 1, it always equals 2, all right? Yeah, I think, yeah. That sounds right. Now for the rest of this list, a very important thing to remember is that good things take time. For real solutions that lead to actual results, you have to be patient and consistent. You can't just expect overnight success. So with that in mind, number 2 is hair supplements. Hair growth supplements are getting huge now, and the main reason for that is because they are proving to work.
Okay, so this is going to be interesting, guys. Hair supplements. Bite my tongue.
Just look it up yourself online and read some reviews. The BluMaan's team is actually hard at work. We're cooking up our own hair supplements. We're bringing some out into the game, but that's for, you know, a little later down the road. But for now, look out for supplements that contain a large amount of biotin. Specifically, you want to look out for stuff that says like 2,000 to 5,000 micrograms of biotin somewhere in.
Okay, guys, so biotin, unless you're fucking slamming raw egg whites, you're not going to be deficient in biotin even if you have a basic multivitamin. Like, this is one of the most overhyped vitamins that actually makes no fucking difference realistically at all. What's the chance, unless you have a ton of avidin fucking inhibiting biotin assimilation? Like, what's gonna happen, dude? Like, it's not that hard to get your biotin, and you don't need to buy a separate supplement for it. You can get it very easily through your diet, and it's in the majority of multivitamins to begin with. So unless you're using something that's like some novel new way to address prostaglandin D2 antagonism or something, or some sort of like I don't know, DHT, not even inhibition of like 5-alpha reductase, because you can do that with pharmacology, but I mean, something that's proven to, like there's nothing really. There's not a whole lot of stuff. Like there's some stuff that's shown promise, like L-threonate. We've seen stuff like quercetin. We've seen stuff like, at the end of the day though, and then we've seen stuff that helps your thyroid function in case you had like telogen effluvium from fucking, you know, hypothyroidism or something. But it's like at the end of the day, you can only do so much with an over-the-counter supplement, and throwing in a big dose of biotin is really not going to do anything.
In this amount are proven to have the best results. You can buy biotin tablets on their own. You can also get hair supplements that, you know, have a bunch of different vitamins. That's the kind that we're specifically working on.
You can buy the hair supplement that have a bunch of different ingredients in them, and that's the one we're doing. I don't know what they are, but I mean, we're working on it. So just so you know, that sounds fucking legit, dude.
You know, we're go big or go home. Okay, BluMaan's team, we're working on hair supplements that has biotin, but also a bunch of healthy hair ingredients. But
what are those, dude? Like, it doesn't come across too well for the credibility of the product when you have no idea what the fuck they are except for biotin.
You know, like I said, more on that later on. Number 3 has to do with laser light technology, and the laser bands that I'm gonna be showing you in today's video are these guys right here from today's sponsor, HairMax. Now, I'm gonna show you exactly how this works and some before and after results from using this kind of technology, but just to put everyone at ease here at the beginning, HairMax's laser bands are clinically proven, FDA approved, and have a 5-month money-back guarantee, just in case, you know, just in case of anything.
Okay, I can already tell you off the bat with this HairMax thing, first of all, the size of it clearly is not big enough to cover your whole scalp. So that's problematic in itself. Like, why the fuck would I ever use something that only covers a tiny portion of my scalp? In addition, the number of diodes it has relative to LEDs. I can't see what it is here, and frankly, I'm not even gonna look. Fuck it, I'll go look at their website. Let's see. If you saw recently, I did a video about a custom made helmet. It was like expensive as hell, and it had, man, this site is brutal. Dude, look at this fucking guy. He has the helmet on his head and it's not even covering the part that's affected by androgenic alopecia. Like, how is this going to help whatsoever? You can hit either the back or you can hit the front, but you can't hit it simultaneously. You have to move it around. Like, that screams cheap product to me. Fuck, dude. Like, I have this thing, this fucking behemoth of a product that has, I don't even remember how many. It's like 1,600 or something. This was like the most expensive laser helmet you can possibly get, and it was custom made because all of these mainstream companies that are paying for marketing to get their laser helmets advertised are using their marketing their budget in marketing rather than making a good helmet. Like, if you don't have a fucking thing that looks like a astronaut experimental like research helmet, you're not doing it right. Like, you need to cover all the surface area, and you can't have just like some suboptimal amount of lasers and have some random LEDs fill in the space, or just not have enough fucking anything to begin with. Like, this thing is so thin, there's no way it can cover the surface area to begin with. And even if it did, all these companies I've seen have weak ass fucking shit that I've seen personally. So I don't know, like, off the bat, it's completely impractical to have a band that doesn't even cover your fucking head. So I'm not even gonna get into the number of lasers, but I can almost guarantee it's suboptimal because none of these mainstream companies ever have a good laser product that I've seen. And frankly, I don't even really recommend getting this one. This one is like literally the cream of the crop, custom made by a guy who literally only does, he makes these for a living and has no marketing whatsoever. And he's just known for sitting in a garage and like making these things from scratch. And even that, like, I don't even really use it personally because I don't feel it's worth the time investment. At least for me. Like, I actually noticed a bit of a difference when I use it consistently, but it's not substantial enough that it's like the majority of people would not be able to justify the spend on it. And the difference is relatively negligible in my opinion. So some people do get some benefit from it, but it's nothing that's like night and day different, like a, you know, pharmacologic intervention. So I'm not a huge fan of the promotion for a, like, at least have a full helmet, dude, not a fucking band.
So what this does is distribute an even amount of therapeutic light energy, it's this red stuff you see coming out, directly to your follicles that helps to stimulate hair growth and even reverse thinning and hair loss. I know it sounds kind of scary, but it's completely 100% pain-free and it's super easy to use. I've got two here, one bigger one and one smaller one, and the main difference between the two is just the amount of time it takes to complete the treatment for that day. So for the Laser Band 41, which is the smaller one right here, to make it work, you turn it on, position the band.
Okay, I'm gonna skip this because it's basically an advertisement, but actually fuck.
On, you are physically sliding it upwards rather than just placing it, because they've got these, you know, these little teeth. They act like combs right here in the middle. So that helps to move your hair out of the way, it combs it out of the way so that the laser lights are able to hit your scalp directly, and that just makes it far more effective. After 30 seconds.
Dude, that's such a hassle. Like, just get a good enough helmet that it does everything at once, and that's not enough time in my opinion to have like a couple minutes in each spot. Like, I was wearing this thing for 20 minutes every other day when I was using it, not fucking 2 minutes per spot. Like, that's ridiculous. This band thing, man, like, just make a helmet at least, dude.
For a recommended 3 times a week. Super easy, super simple. And with this bigger one over here, similar concept, you're using it for 30 seconds. So with the special discount out. Now, while scientific studies have shown that ketoconazole can stimulate hair growth, it's...
Okay, let's see what the next recommendation he has is.
Shampoo that has at least 1% ketoconazole, all right? That's the word of the day. Now, ketoconazole is widely associated with anti-dandruff treatment, but most studies related to ketoconazole also show that it can be very effective when it comes to hair regrowth.
Okay, I wouldn't say it's very effective. I would say it is mildly effective and worth implementing, but I would not say very. That is a stretch for a ketoconazole shampoo. It's definitely worth adding, and especially as like your first newbie introduction to hair loss prevention, it's a pretty like well-tolerated, low-risk thing to add into your protocol, or to start your protocol, I should say, and it's usually the first thing I'd recommend before delving into 5-alpha reductase inhibition or actually using an anti-androgen or anything like that. But anyway, let's hear what he says now.
Growth. Now, while scientific studies have shown that ketoconazole can stimulate hair growth, it's still fairly unclear as to the reason why, so I can't give you that this is why explanation.
The reason why is because it's anti-androgenic to some extent. And this is why if you ingest it orally, bad shit happens in an anti-androgen context, but topically it has a mild anti-androgenic effect, and this has been shown clinically, and in practical application it seems to play out to some extent. Like I said, it's relatively mild. It's worth adding in though, in my opinion.
But nevertheless, even though the reason isn't 100% clear, the results still show that that it can be effective. 1% ketoconazole shampoos are readily available on Amazon, and 2% can be prescribed by a doctor.
So as far as the 2% versus the 1%, frankly, I never saw a big difference myself. So for me, like Nizoral 2% is actually over the counter in Canada, so I just have that. But it also dries out your hair and makes it look kind of shitty and malnourished. So I'll often use a high quality ketoconazole shampoo. The one I use is in my video description all the time if you want to check it out. You know, if I'm going out in public, I'll definitely use the higher quality one because it makes your hair look better. And it still has the same, realistically, between 2% and 1%, I don't see a difference personally. So most of the time I'm using the 1% now, but it's more cost prohibitive than 2% Nizoral or 1% Nizoral, depending on where you live. If you're in the States, Nizoral over the counter is only 1%. But at the end of the day, you know, even if you had access to 2%, like there's like no fucking difference realistically that I've seen personally. So don't really worry about like even going out of your way. Like I know some guys will go over the border to get a bunch of 2% and like bring it back to the States. Like honestly, it's not that big of a difference, if any. Like there's a reason, if it was that big of a difference, I would never use the 1% like higher quality shampoo, to be honest.
At any rate, if you're dealing with a bad case of dandruff, which is a completely different subject, this is definitely something you should look into. Number 5 is Minoxidil, most commonly known by the brand Rogaine. Minoxidil works by improving the blood flow on the areas that it's applied, and it's a product that you usually physically apply to the top of your head. And actually, to have the least amount of side effects, it's recommended to, you know, get the products that you apply rather than you orally take. So I'm surprised he's even mentioning that don't take it orally with
tablets, because it's like most people wouldn't even jump to that conclusion. I would think, like, who's gonna think like, oh, this guy's recommending I take Lonatin tablets? Like, that seems like out of the realm of possibility. But would I haphazardly recommend people take Minoxidil off the bat? No. Typically I recommend getting a ketoconazole shampoo and then looking into 5-alpha reductase inhibition or deploying a well-tolerated anti-androgen thereafter is typically step 1 and 2, rather than deploying growth stimulants that otherwise don't really seem to have a significant anti-androgenic component. So with Minoxidil, you're kind of just, the problem is a lot of people will use Minoxidil on its own and then not do anything to prevent hair loss. So they'll induce a decent amount of regrowth, which can cosmetically offset further androgenic alopecia visually. But what they don't see is there's hair follicles still being miniaturized by DHT and testosterone that they're not addressing at all. So it's like, it's basically like a Band-Aid that doesn't actually fix the situation. You're just like, you know, covering it up, and it's gonna get worse. And eventually you get to the point where you've lost even more ground, where your artificial stimulation of growth, the density you gain from that has now been outweighed by how much you've lost, and that's like permanent ground you're losing there at the same time by the androgen. So it's like, if you're not using something to inhibit DHT or testosterone either at the androgen receptor or the synthesis of it, or competing for AR or whatever it is, you know, you're losing the battle, dude. Like, that's kind of, or, you know, there's other ways to go about it, potentially PGD2 antagonism, things like this. But Minoxidil, using a growth stimulant, does not really help you prevent further loss. It just cosmetically offsets it visually, but you're still getting fucked up at the same time. So do not just go Minoxidil only off the bat and think you're fine, because that's a huge mistake guys make, and I guess we're gonna see if he touches on that here.
However, it's going to be a bit of an independent case depending on, you know, how much hair loss and how your system reacts. So it's best to consult a doctor when you're dealing with this stuff. But with consistent use, Minoxidil is shown to improve hair density and increase the rate of growth.
You can tell this guy doesn't use shit, because he has just immaculate genetics to the point where his fucking middle of his hairline's receding before his temples. Like, this guy is literally going to, I don't know, maybe he, I don't know what his family looks like in terms of their hair loss, but you can tell he had to look this shit up, and he doesn't really know much about these treatments because he doesn't really deploy them himself. At least from what that's what I'm venturing to guess, is this guy just has immaculate Norwood -1 hair and is just talking about stuff that you might want to try if you want to prevent hair loss, but he just doesn't really know personally. Anyway, let's keep going.
It's also worth noting that severe hair loss probably won't be helped that much, but you know, if you've got minor hair loss or if you catch it kind of early, again, this is something worth looking into. And guys, that is what I have for you today. It's been fairly scientific, but sometimes, you know, science is the answer.
How was that scientific at all, dude? That was like the worst fucking overview of some of these treatments, in my opinion. Well, I guess, you know, maybe I'm being too harsh. I guess, you know, this is a general, I don't know, a general overview to his audience, which is the more mainstream. But it's like, when you're talking about pharmacology and drugs that can cause like orthostatic hypotension and fucking cause arrhythmias and shit, it's kind of important to, I think, highlight the other things too, as opposed to just, you know, briefly cut, or even mentioning that, by the way, when you start Minoxidil, you're gonna have a fucking horrendous shed that are gonna make everything way worse before it gets better. Like, that might be something you want to mention before you just like haphazardly suggest everyone to get on Minoxidil, dude. So yeah, it's worth mentioning. If you didn't know that, Minoxidil will always be, in almost every case, will be accompanied by a heavy duty shed, and things will look much worse before it gets better. And this often leads to people yo-yoing, where they get hair loss and they hate it, so then they get on Minoxidil, and then it makes them lose even more hair, and then they're even more far gone, and they get super insecure and they drop the Minoxidil, and they're on this vicious cycle of shedding and fucking shedding, getting on and off the fucking treatment, and just making their hair 1,000 times worse and never letting it recover. And while they're going up and down, recovering, getting off of it, getting back on it, and causing these perpetual shedding phases, their fucking androgens are still eating at their hair follicles. So approach your protocol design with, you know, intelligence and care, and respect the fact that androgens are the root of the issue, in almost every case. Like the likelihood is very low that you have, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, or you have some fucking biotin deficiency, or minoxidil is going to cover up somehow your continuous miniaturization of hair follicles by androgens. Maybe it's going to cosmetically offset it to some extent, but it's not going to be a permanent solution whatsoever. You're eventually going to lose more ground. And certainly a fucking band that covers this much of your hair and not the whole head is not going to be the answer either. So keep that in mind, guys, and get on shit that works. Look at the pharmacology and how hair loss works, and make a protocol designed on that. And if you want to check out more videos associated with that and how to go about approaching that in a smart way, check out the rest of my channel or my blog, moreplatesmartates.com. Or if you want to get sent the newsletter when I publish my deep dives into hair loss pharmacology, you can sign up to the newsletter in the first link in the description below. If you want to check out any of the pharma-grade hair loss meds that I personally use and deploy myself, you can check those out in the video description, as well as my TRT clinic, my nootropic and pre-workout formulas, and anything else I am associated with. And yeah, you can support the channel through those, and you can follow me on Instagram at moreplates_moredates, Facebook, Snapchat, BitChute, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts if you want to listen on audio instead of burn through your data watching on video. And like, subscribe, comment, helps the algorithm. It's much appreciated when you guys do that. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.